I know you're scared. Yeah, I'd be too. If I were you. I know you're scared. I'd be too. If I were you. You better bring your A game. Bring your A game. You better bring your A game. Bring your A game. You better bring your A game. Bring your A game. You better bring your A game. 'Cause I'm an all-star. You better bring your A game. Bring your A game. You better bring your A game. You better bring your A game.
Hello, all Vikings fans out there. JJ Vikings here with another awesome Vikings content creator. His name is Dustin, and on Twitter, he's named Dust_Vikings. And I met him at an event called Skullfest a little less than a month ago. Absolutely awesome Vikings fan and an even more awesome person. And this entire Vikings fan base is just filled with awesome people. How are you doing today, by the way?
I'm doing good. Thank you for the kind words. And yeah, definitely. Skullfest was definitely a hit. It was my first time joining or attending that. And I know it's only been around for 2 years now. And I can't wait for next year, honestly. I think next year will be really fun. Hopefully, we can get some more people out there too. People like Shelby, and I know other people are missing too. But yeah, no, it was fun regardless. And yeah, I can't wait for next year.
Yeah, same here. I love it when other content creators finally meet, because obviously we all have this thing going on, whether it's on YouTube or Twitter or Instagram, but when you have personal friendships with people too, that also is very life changing to meet the people that you've always admired online. So that's a big thing. Our Vikings are 4-0. Sam Darnold is looking amazing, and I want to ask you a quick question right off the bat. Did you have any doubts about Sam Darnold coming to the Vikings and like before the season? Because I have to admit I had quite a few doubts. So he's definitely broken my doubts.
Yeah, I think there was two Viking fan theories kind of going into this season where when we first signed him, almost every Vikings fan was like, "Oh, great, it's Sam Darnold, awesome, great." Sarcastically we were doing whatever, but as training camp went on, we were kind of excited that he's throwing deep passes to Jordan Addison, and JJ McCarthy was doing well, so maybe there's a QB battle going on. And then fast forward to week 1 when JJ McCarthy's on IR because of his torn meniscus and everything. Sam Darnold lights it up in New York, and then fast forward to the next week 2, San Fran home opener. We dismantle the 49ers, and it just kind of is a trend of Sam Darnold just dominating these opponents where we didn't really go into the season kind of expecting that at all, where Sam Darnold is a legit MVP contender in contention for that. So I think it's really nice to see. He's definitely a result of the system that Kevin O'Connell runs. And I think JJ McCarthy, whether it was JJ McCarthy or Sam Darnold, I think both of them would have similar kind of seasons to this point. Maybe JJ McCarthy would have a little bit more of a learning curve, maybe a couple more mistakes, but Sam Darnold has just played awesome. I don't think a lot of Vikings fans really expected him to play this well, but there was definitely some optimism that he would, because it's Kevin O'Connell. You have all these weapons to throw to: Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson, Hawkinson when he comes back, hand the ball off to Aaron Jones. A really good offense all around. So yeah, I'm just super excited that Sam Darnold is playing at an MVP level like we all thought, before the season. So
When you got a guy like Sam Darnold and a head coach like Kevin O'Connell, they're immediately in sync. They're immediately locked in. And what I feel is Kevin O'Connell is a guy who's like, the Vikings fans on Twitter have said this a bunch. I know Vikings fan page has said it a lot on Twitter, that whenever we tie the turnover battle, at least tie it. Obviously I want to win the turnover battle, but when we at least tie it, we win games. We've never lost a game in the same game that we at least tied the turnover battle. So that's very important. Ball security and just making sure that you take care of the ball on offense, because I noticed that we came off to an amazing start in Green Bay. We really saw that we really saw how much Jordan Addison was valued because Jordan Addison, while he was out, not that we didn't have any explosive plays, but we kind of forgot that Jordan Addison could make those explosive plays too until he showed up in Green Bay. And when he did make those plays, we were like, okay, this guy's back. Jordan Addison's back. But what I did feel though was that after that Jalen Naylor punt, we had seemed to have taken our foot off the gas a little bit, and you can't do that in Lambeau Field against that's enemy territory. You can never back down against the enemy. And what I do feel is that we have to see this as a bit of a wake up call to not ever back down because you can't do this against great teams. Whether you think it's Buffalo or the Chiefs, especially because now the Vikings and the Chiefs are the only 4-0 teams in the NFL. So I think that's a very important thing to note. So what I feel is when you secure the ball, win the turnover battle, make sure that every offensive drive you have, you score points, you can win football games. And I think that this Vikings team right now could pose a threat to teams even like Kansas City. Sam Darnold threw 4 touchdown passes in one game. And guess what? Kirk Cousins never did that in his time with the Vikings. Arguably, maybe he did hold us back. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he just wasn't in the right situation. I don't know. I mean, he seemed to be, but, it's all right that he's in Atlanta, but he better watch out when he comes to US Bank Stadium to face us because we are booming right now.
Yes, for sure. And the whole thing about, talking about, the ex quarterback Kirk Cousins is I think I was always a big Kirk Cousins guy while he was on the Vikings. I gave him support and criticism at the same time. You got to be fair in that regard, but I think as far as Kirk Cousins goes, I think with the contract that he had, it was kind of hard to build a real team around him defensively. I mean, the offense was pretty good. I don't know if they were ever top 5 in any category finishing the season. I would have to look into that, but the Vikings, as of right now, with Sam Darnold on a $10 million deal for 1 year, they're doing pretty damn good. And you have guys like Justin Jefferson, Addison, pretty much the same offense as he did last year. Maybe with a better running game this year because of Aaron Jones. So I think that this offense is clicking together with a guy like Sam Darnold, where he can distribute the ball very well, makes minor mistakes. And then where a guy like Kirk Cousins, he's very detailed on what he does. I can't remember who was saying this, but I believe when Kirk Cousins would meet with Kevin O'Connell during the week before a game, Kevin O'Connell would come up to Kirk and be like, "Hey, what plays do you like? What plays don't you like?" Kirk would go in there and be like, "Okay, I don't like this play. I don't like this play. I don't like this one. Can we change this?" Whatever he wants, because he had that veteran experience. He knew what he was doing. Where Sam Darnold, he just says, "Yeah, let's run that. Let's do this. Let's try that." Whatever KO wants to run. That's pretty much what Sam Darnold's doing, and I think we're seeing a lot of success off of that. And it's just really nice to see that the offense is clicking, defense is clicking. So it's really cool to see that.
The run game and the defense are both a guaranteed part of this season for this Vikings team. Now, what really shocked and baffled a lot of people was there was a time when Sam Darnold in a game, I think it was either week 2 or week 3, maybe even after week 1, I think. He had a higher passer rating in 1 week than Patrick Mahomes himself did. So I think that's a
Crazy.
very, very, very important thing to look at. And I don't want to listen to any person in the world say that this Vikings team is not legit because we are a very legit team. And this part of our schedule was supposed to be the tough part, the hard part of our schedule, and we just flew right through it. I mean, 4-0. I mean, I thought we were going to be 3-1 or 2-2 in this stretch, but 4-0. That's definitely exceeding expectations by miles and miles and miles.
Yeah, speaking of going like 2-2, 3-1, a lot of people didn't have the Vikings beating the Niners, beating the Texans, even beating the Packers. I don't think we were before the season. I don't think we were even favored in a game until I think the Colts game at home, which is I don't know what week it is, but it's after the bye week. I know that, and after another stretch of games as well. But um, Yeah, the hard part of the schedule is over. I think the next hardest part will be after the bye week when you don't have another break of, a week break of between games where you have a 3-game away stretch and then you have a 3-game home stretch where you go on the road to Jacksonville, Tennessee, and then Chicago, and then you're at home. I believe the Bears are part of it, and then maybe some other ones I can't remember off the top of my head. But that might be the next hardest part of the schedule outside of your actual opponents that you are playing. You have the Cardinals, which can be sneaky good, still not a top team in the league. The Colts are kind of question marks all over too. So the Rams, they're on I think that's a Thursday night game. They're not great with all the injuries that they're suffering. The Bears aren't turning out great either. So a lot of winnable games on our schedule upcoming, and I think the hardest games that we'll be playing are maybe your divisional games with the on the road against the Lions. At home against the Lions might be tough. On the road in Chicago, we struggle in Chicago. So those might be your toughest games there. After that, and then maybe on to the playoffs after that.
So, things that I really dislike are three straight away games. I absolutely hate that. 3 straight home games, I love that. But one thing to note is, yeah, we do not do great in Chicago. I mean, let's look back to the past like 3 or 4 years. Let's say 2020, we played against the Bears. We played in Chicago. It was Justin Jefferson's rookie year. Kirk Cousins has gotten his first Monday Night Football win, but just so many offensive and defensive flaws that game. It was a disgusting win, but it was a win. We went 4-5 after that victory, but we could have gone 6-3 if we had beaten the Seahawks and the Titans in both of those thrilling games. But my point is, in that game, Kirk Cousins threw a pass to Adam Thielen. It got picked off by Khalil Mack. Kirk Cousins tried to chase him down. Obviously, got blown up on that play. Then our kicker gets blown up trying to tackle Cordero Patterson on the kickoff return. Then our punter gets blown up trying to throw the pass off of the missed extra point. So we won that game 19-3. I mean, no, 19-13. I apologize. So we won that game by only 6. So that shows how ugly of a win that was. Then a year later, the Vikings played on December 20th, I believe it was, and it was against the Bears, Monday Night Football. It was Amir Smith-Marset, if you remember him, his rookie year. He caught a touchdown pass in that game. That was his first career touchdown. And Kirk Cousins, in the first half, like towards the end, towards halftime, he threw a deep pass, and it was picked off because Justin Jefferson kind of ran the wrong route, and it looked like he was throwing a punt right to the defender. So that was just an ugly game. I did notice something kind of strange, or no, kind of weird, or whether you think it's weird, strange, or like
Bizarre.
or interesting, bizarre. But the Vikings played the Bears on December 20th for 2 straight years, 2020 at home and 2021 in Chicago for Monday Night Football. And
Wow.
both the times that they played in Chicago for Monday Night Football in 2020 and 2021, a Bears player muffed a punt. And that was kind of the turning point of the game for the Vikings. So that's something that I noticed when I was younger and watching those games. Another thing that I noticed is now looking at this Vikings team, we could easily sweep past the Bears. Caleb Williams now doesn't matter to me that much.
No.
And the only team that I'm legitimately scared of is the Detroit Lions. I mean, they finally beat the Seahawks after 12 years. So that's definitely something that's very notable. The Seahawks usually always beat the Lions, but the Lions ended that theory last night. So my thing is stopping Jared Goff with a healthy Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams. We're gonna have our hands full. It's gonna be a really tough game, but in this schedule, if we beat this Lions team twice, I see us going 17-0. If we beat this Lions team twice, then that's proof to me that we are a legitimate Super Bowl. I mean, we're already Super Bowl contenders, but I mean, like, if we can beat the Lions team, that means that we can go really far in the NFC Championship. And maybe even the Super Bowl. I mean, we never know because we're up there with the Chiefs. We're up there in the rankings with the Chiefs. And Stephen A. Smith recently put us at number one. So he must really be enjoying that purple Kool-Aid after a while. It's no longer bitter to him. So he's enjoying that natural, flavorful taste of it. So I'm very happy that he finally got to experience that Vikings joy that he always. I don't know if he craved it, but he's got to. He's got to enjoy it now. He's forced to. Yeah, after
That's
seeing the
true.
way our team is looking. So that's my opinion.
Yeah, I think we have to give kudos to the Lions as well in a way because of them beating the Seahawks, where now the Chiefs and the Vikings are the only undefeated teams left in the NFL, one in the AFC, one in the NFC. So got to give kudos to the Lions in that regard. But outside of that, as I alluded to before, as you alluded to as well, that the Lions I think will be the toughest games in after our bye of our schedule, where they have a really good offense, can be tricked up at times. As we saw Monday night, where Jared Goff caught a touchdown pass from Amon-Ra St. Brown, where you know I don't know how that all happened, but it happened, and that's just something that Dan Campbell can kind of scheme up, kind of have fun with it. So their defense, on the other hand, doesn't scare me at all. That can just kind of, our offense, I think, can be like a hot knife through butter through that. It's not a great defense for the Lions. And, I like our matchup of our defense versus their offense. Hopefully we're healthy for both of those games, one right after the bye and one at the end of the season. And, yeah, we'll see how they match up because it definitely will be interesting. Amon Ra kind of off to a slower start to the season, but definitely did well in fantasy last night. I'll say that. Other than that, that like I said, they're just going to be the toughest part of our schedule, I think, and I think that will probably be. I don't know if it's a hot take, but it's one of my takes for sure.
Right. And I don't want to hear anyone ever again say that Amon-Ra St. Brown is even in the stratosphere of Justin Jefferson. He's not
Agreed.
even in the he's not even in Justin Jefferson's galaxy. I don't even want to hear any of that anymore. I don't want to hear you compare him to any receivers anymore. Any of those big analysts, I don't want to hear them compare him to any
Good
receivers
player,
anymore.
but he's not in the same stratosphere at all.
Right. Like these players, I don't like how you have to compare these new up and coming players to big players that are already like stars. You have to let young players be good on their own, be their own person. You don't have to be like every wide receiver that's good doesn't have to just compare themselves to Justin Jefferson. You can say like you don't have to say, "Oh, I'm the next Justin Jefferson." Just say who you really are. Just say I'm good as myself. You know, people just
Yep.
need to do that. It's called being humble. And NFL players nowadays, they need to have humility. And one of the humble players, though, one of the really more humble players, though, is Cameron Bynum. I love his mindset every time he goes out and plays. And I wonder where he's getting these dance moves from. I knew he could do the worm, but I didn't know he could do that usher dance and the moonwalk. And
Yeah,
2 days ago, a backflip. I mean, he's just where's he getting
that
this stuff
surprised
from?
me.
Yeah, yeah. But what a dynamic player he is. The Vikings definitely need to pay Cam Beasley. He needs an extension for sure because you have a player like him, you can never take players like Cameron Bynum underrated. I mean, you can never take them for granted. I mean, when players like him are underrated, you have to understand that he's playing what they say under the radar, like he's not getting all the hype and attention. But I think as a person and as a Vikings fan, I think that's better for him because if you don't get that much hype and you play super well, you're not going to be the target of criticism or because you're just not being recognized. But at the same time, you're doing your job. I'm glad that the right Vikings fans recognize Cameron Bynum and how awesome this team is.
I know we get a lot of praise for Cam Bynum for his dance moves, and I think that's the right kind of recognition. And the kind of recognition you don't want is when you're getting burnt all the time, and that's not Cam Bynum at all. He's playing really, really well this year and last year as well, and a little bit of his rookie year as well. And when you're not really talking about a player like that, you're doing something right. Kind of like we are with Stephon Gilmore. He's playing really well. We haven't really said his name a whole bunch. Shaq Griffin, we only say his name because he got an interception on Sunday against the Packers. So I think when you're not talking about a player, it's both a good and bad thing. It can be. But the good part of it is, they're just doing their job. And like I said before, the only time you're ever getting talked about bad, or the most time, is when you're playing bad, when you're getting burnt all the time. And unfortunately, it's, defensive backs that get most of the criticism and most of the attention, because you're on a Justin Jefferson, you're on a CD Lamb, you're on a Amon-Ra St. Brown, where all the attention is on you, whether you make the play or not. So yeah, and like you said before, you got to be your own player. You can't compare yourself to a guy like Justin Jefferson, because let's be real, there's not many players, if any, that are close to him. Maybe CD Lamb, maybe numbers wise, but passing the eye test, I don't know. They're close. No, you don't think so?
Not even close. CD
No.
is a no. Like he's not.
Okay.
I mean, I feel like Justin Jefferson has gotten so good that you can't even put any receiver in his conversation anymore. Like if it were
No.
2021, then you could say that Devontae Adams is better, and I would listen to that because he was on fire in Green Bay. 2020. Well, in 2020, I'd say at that time Devontae Adams was better than Justin Jefferson. If you told me in 2021 he
Yeah.
was better, I could listen to that because Jefferson was still up and coming. He was still rising, but he was already looking like one of the best, if not the best. But so was Devontae Adams already, and he's been playing at a high level for years. But I'd say in 2022, Justin Jefferson solidified that name and that role as best wide receiver in the NFL, and he'll continue to do that. He'll only get better and better. I'm not going to say he's the next Randy Moss because he succeeds as Justin Jefferson, not as Randy Moss. So I see him as his own player who breaks almost all the records. I mean, in 2021 alone, he was already the fastest player to gain 100 receptions in 19 games. So that was already a big record. And obviously, we know the 3,000 yards in his first 2 seasons, and he leads the league right now in receiving touchdowns. So he's a player who's dynamic and a player who will continue to be dynamic. And this Vikings team, by the way, I'm calling it right now. We either go 17-0, 16-1, 15-2, 14-3, and at the worst 13-4. I don't see who we're losing to besides the
Okay.
Lions. So those are my picks. I think it falls down to either 17-0, 15-2, or 14-3.
Yeah, I think besides those lines ones, there might be a couple sprinkled in there that, we may drop because of A, might be a trap game, B, an important injury like a quarterback or something. Hopefully not, knock on wood, obviously. But yeah, I think the Lions might be our only losses so far on the schedule. And divisional games can go any way. As we saw against the Packers, we were up 28-7 at half. Should have been 28-0, but that's besides the point. And then they quickly came back within the third, fourth quarter. So games can go any way. And I think it was 2022 when we played the Lions at home. We set ourselves up for a field goal to win it. That game, or no, I think it was Josh Metellus picked off a pass to
Yeah,
seal the game.
yeah,
Pretty sure. Yeah. So, something like that. They were down there to win the game. They were on a game-winning drive, and Josh Metellus came off to pick the pass and ended the game there. So, like anything can happen in these lines. Division games, Lions, Bears, Packers. So, we'll see what happens later in the year.
yeah. Oh, it was, by the way, it was so amazing having you on the show, and it was even more amazing meeting you at Skullfest. Same
For
with
sure.
Eli, same with Jason. Same with like everyone that I saw there. Just absolutely amazing Vikings fans and amazing people. This Vikings team is going to go so far. This is going to be a crazy ride, a long ride, but a good ride. Please, no more heartbreak. And by the way, people are underestimating the big leg of Will Reichard. I'm not going to say he's going to break the curse. That's up to the man above. But he's definitely going to help neutralize the fear of missing field goals. And I saw something that said that if he misses one, he'll get a haircut. I mean, he won't shave himself bald, but he'll get some kind
Right.
of haircut. So to me, I'm thinking to myself, seeing that, I'm like, this guy is going to have to grow out his hair until it reaches the moon. So he's never
He's
getting
gonna
a
look
haircut.
like TJ Hawkinson out there.
Yeah, he's never getting a haircut. Never.
Never.
Um, but thank you so much for all your content, for how awesome you are, and for supporting this Vikings team. I know I do it young, but I'm gonna keep supporting this ride, even if it hurts me in here. But it comes with that. So I got to be ready because I already experienced the 38-7 loss in the 2017 season. So I know how that feels. But thank you very much for
Oh.
coming on.
Yeah, before we head off though, I do want to say that I am very impressed with your memorization skills of remembering stuff that happened in games because I think of myself as pretty good at remembering a lot of that stuff, but when you're talking about like the Bears, those Bears games and all the stats in there, that was pretty impressive. And yeah, I just gotta give kudos to you. And that's a lot of brain space that you gotta keep up there for a lot of Viking stuff. I always tell people, I can remember stuff like that. It's maybe not the best, for my brain to remember all that, but kudos to you for remembering that and more too.
Yeah, I hope my head doesn't explode from all that information. By the way,
Oh,
um,
nah, we got lots of space.
yeah, but thank you so very much again. This Vikings team is going to go further than people expect, further than people ever expected, and I can sniff that Sam Barty trophy, Sam Darnold.
Sam
Um,
Barty.
yep,
I like it.
yep.
I
Skull
like it.
Vikings. Thanks to all who are watching and for all who support the purple. Skull.
Skull Vikes.